Title. Wife snapped. I'm done pretending to like your mother. Don't count me in for Christmas. The first time I noticed the tension was at dinner. Sarah's eyes barely met mine, and every time my mother smiled at her, I could see the tightness in her jaw, the way her fingers tapped impatiently on the table. I tried to ignore it, told myself I was imagining things. After all, I had married Sarah because I thought she loved me, and by extension, she would accept my family. But the small, simmering discomfort was impossible to ignore. Christmas had always been special in my family. Every year, we decorated early, baked together, and laughed over traditions that went back decades. This year, though, something felt off. Sarah barely helped with the decorations, avoided sitting near my mother, and responded with one-word answers whenever she was spoken to. I chalked it up to stress at work, long hours, the usual excuses. Then one evening, everything came crashing down. We were sitting in the living room, the Christmas tree lights casting a soft glow, when Sarah finally snapped. Her voice was sharp, icy, the calm before a storm. I'm done pretending to like your mother, she said, and the room seemed to stop breathing. Don't count me in for Christmas. I won't be there, and I don't want to fake it anymore. I froze. Words stumbled in my mouth, but nothing came out. My mother's eyes welled up with tears, and for the first time, I felt the weight of her disappointment resting squarely on my shoulders. I had never seen Sarah like this, so unrestrained, so unfiltered. It was more than frustration. It was contempt, and it stung worse than any argument we had ever had. I wanted to speak, to calm the situation, to remind her that family mattered, that traditions mattered, that love mattered. But the truth was, her words hit too close to reality. There had always been a subtle resentment, a quiet disapproval of my mother that I had tried to ignore. And now, it was out in the open, undeniable and sharp as a knife. The next days were unbearable. Sarah avoided the house, stayed late at work, and spent more time scrolling on her phone than talking to me. Every message she sent was curt. Every phone call felt like a negotiation. I tried reasoning, gently suggesting we sit down and discuss it, but she dismissed every attempt with a cold. I've said what I feel. That's all there is to it. It wasn't just anger, it was a deliberate distancing, a way to assert control while breaking the ties she had never wanted. And I realized something I had been avoiding. For years, she had silently resented my family. The smiles, the small gestures, the laughter I had assumed were shared, were only mine to enjoy. She had been tolerating it at best, judging it at worst. And now, she didn't even pretend anymore. I tried to talk to my mother, but the pain was evident in her eyes. She kept saying, "It's her loss, dear. We love you, and that's what matters." But I knew it wasn't just her loss. It was a fracture in our lives, a crack that no amount of holiday cheer could patch. I felt trapped between two worlds. The woman I loved, who had suddenly become unrecognizable, and the family that had always been my foundation. Then came the turning point. Emily, my younger sister, called me one evening. "You can't let this slide," she said, her voice sharp but supportive. "Sarah is showing her true colors. If you keep bending, it'll only get worse. You need to protect your family and yourself." Her words hit me hard, but they made sense. I had spent so long trying to make Sarah fit into our lives, trying to accommodate her silent judgments, that I had forgotten about the boundaries that mattered. That night, I reflected on everything. The holidays we had spent arguing silently, the countless dinners filled with tension, the resentment that had grown under the surface. And I realized that I had a choice. Continue walking on eggshells for a woman who would never accept my family, or reclaim the season, the joy, and the traditions for those who actually valued them. The following weekend, I made a decision. I invited my family over for a small, intimate Christmas gathering, intentionally leaving Sarah out. I wasn't doing it to punish her. I was doing it to preserve the joy that she had threatened to destroy. My mother, my siblings, even a few close friends, came over with smiles, laughter, and holiday cheer that had been missing for far too long. The house was alive again, the way it was meant to be. I didn't hear from Sarah for days, and part of me worried about the confrontation that would inevitably come. When she finally called, her tone was sharp, almost mocking. "So, I hear you went ahead without me," she said. I paused, taking a deep breath. Yes, I replied calmly, because Christmas isn't about pretending or tolerating. It's about love, joy, and being with people who value those things. You've made your choice. I've made mine. The silence on the other end was telling. She had expected guilt, drama, maybe even a fight, but she got none. I had stepped out of her control, and for the first time, I felt free. Free to enjoy the holiday, free to protect my family, and free to show her that boundaries were not negotiable. As the night of the gathering unfolded, I watched my mother's eyes shine with genuine happiness. She laughed freely, no tension hiding behind her smile. My siblings shared inside jokes that filled the room with warmth, and even the children ran around, squealing with delight at the decorations and the tree. The joy was real, untainted by resentment or forced smiles. Later, as I stepped onto the balcony with a cup of coffee, looking at the snow gently falling, I understood something important. Relationships, even marriages, have limits, and no one should have to sacrifice their family, their traditions, or their peace of mind for someone who refuses to respect them. Sarah had chosen her path, but in doing so, she had also reminded me of what truly mattered. And in that quiet, reflective moment, I felt a surge of gratitude, not for the easy path, but for the strength to reclaim my holiday, my family, and my joy. Because sometimes, the best gift isn't under the tree. It's knowing that you didn't let anyone take what really matters away from you.